Welcome to my Icelandic Poppies grow along. They are known for not being the easiest flower to grow. Today I will show you how to start them off and how to care for them. So there is nothing more magical than the unfurling of an Icelandic poppy with those crushed silk petals from that plump furry pod. It's one of the most requested flowers from florists. So they're not for wimps or beginners, but if you've been growing for a few seasons, then they're absolutely possible for you to have a go. And as long as you follow some of those basic rules, you will have at least some success. I find them much easier to grow than Lysianthus or bells of Ireland, for instance. So if you sow them in late summer or early autumn, so September, October time here in the UK, then they will germinate quite quickly, within a few weeks, with a little bit of bottom heat. But I have successfully germinated them without bottom heat as well. In terms of your compost, you need to use a sterile soil because they are prone to damping off, and this will ensure that there are limited nutrients for fungi and bacteria growth. The other thing you need to do is sow them really thinly. Seeds are microscopic and they can really easily be overcrowded, so you need to sow them as thinly as possible and give them really good air circulation. So let me show you how I sow mine. So I'm sowing Kelmscott's Giants today, which are absolutely stunning. They're the most gorgeous, gorgeous colours. So the first thing I'm going to do is fill one of these fruit punnets, and I love sowing them in these fruit punnets. So I'm going to fill one of my fruit punnets, not to the top, maybe just halfway full, with some compost. And this is seed compost with some vermiculite and some perlite in there, a little bit of both to give really good drainage. And the first thing we're going to do with this is give it a water, because you can't water these seeds very easily after you've sown them. So you need to just make sure that the compost you're sowing them onto is really, really nice and damp. So I'll just let that settle for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to take my seeds from the packet, and they are tiny, they are microscopic. You can just see them in my hand here, and I'm going to sow them really nice and thinly. So I'm just going to dampen my finger and then pick some up on my finger and then rub my finger and thumb together, which then allows the seeds to sprinkle nice and evenly over the surface of the soil. Or that's the theory anyway. And I am sowing them nice and thinly on here, so that they don't all bunch together. Now they do need light to germinate, so all you need to do is put a really thin sprinkle of vermiculite over the top like this, and really all this does is it just keeps the seeds in place. You're not covering them deep, it's a very, very light sprinkle. And essentially what this does is it stops the seeds from being washed away. So I'm now going to pop this tray into a propagator in my greenhouse. I'm not actually going to put it on any heat because I'll be honest, it's actually quite warm at the moment. And they are really, really slow growers. They'll stay small for quite a long time. But as soon as they're big enough to handle, then you can start to pot them up. I put mine into cell trays just like this. And really the key with these seedlings is not to overwater them. So don't water them from overhead, water them from underneath. So what I'll be doing with my tray is I'll be popping this into a bath of water, which only comes maybe about halfway up the side, and that will give it enough water. It will then draw the water up and give it enough water without watering overhead. If you water overhead, you'll risk washing those seeds away down the sides of the pot and then out the bottom, or just far too deep down the sides of the pot, and then you might lose them altogether. So it's best to water them from underneath. If you do need to water them from the top, which you may need to start with, it's best to use a teeny weeny watering can like this with a very, very fine hose on it and just give them a tiny bit of water. Alternatively, you can always spritz them as well with a water sprayer. That would work really well too. And you should also just try to let them dry out a little bit between watering to prevent damping off. So in terms of overwintering, as the name kind of suggests, Icelandic poppies like cool conditions. They can easily cope with a little bit of frost, so they can be grown in an unheated greenhouse or a cold frame over the winter. And I often wait until late winter to plant them out into the ground. And then within about a month or two, the weather will start to warm and they'll start to grow again. So over winter, they won't grow a lot. In spring, they'll then shoot up. You can plant them out into an unheated greenhouse or a polytunnel, they're ideal, or even a low hoop, but they don't like heat. So if spring is very, very hot, actually a low tunnel is best because you can remove that cover from the low tunnel and give them the cool conditions that they need. That low tunnel will also give enough protection from snow and frost that they need just to give them the best start in life, essentially. Now, I'm filming this video at the time of year when I'm sowing the seeds, so I actually don't have any poppies to cut and show you. But when it comes to cutting and conditioning, they again require some very specific instructions. So you need to cut the poppies in the cracking bud stage, so before they unfurl. And you will see just a tiny hint of coloured petal coming through that crack in the furry bud. And I go out really early in the morning to catch them, otherwise they'll pop open in the morning sunshine and then that prevents the pollinators from actually getting to them, and then they will last a lot longer in the vase. So look out for that cracking bud stage, and it's nice to get up early sometimes and go out and have a little bit of a wander as well. So good luck with growing yours. They'll pop up in a few weeks. Remember, just keep them in your unheated greenhouse. Whatever you do, do not take them indoors. They don't need to be on a windowsill. They don't like the heat. They're cool flowers. They're Icelandic poppies, and by next spring you'll have the most gorgeous blooms.